America's top diplomat arrives in Saudi Arabia after a trip to Israel, urging both sides to normalize ties. Antony Blinken visiting the Middle East in a concerted push for lasting peace in the region. We'll pick up on that story. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has arrived in Saudi Arabia as he embarks on a major peace push in the Middle East before the country's presidential election in just 2 weeks. Mr. Blinken is pushing for a halt to fighting between Israel and militant group Hamas and Hezbollah. The top diplomat was previously in Israel, where he urged that the focus be on bringing home remaining hostages in Gaza, while reinforcing that the U.S. fully rejects any Israeli reoccupation of the enclave. The U.S. is hoping that Israel's killing of top Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar last week could provide fresh impetus for peace talks. But heavy Israeli airstrikes on a large historic Lebanese port city demonstrated that there was no respite. Israel began striking the city of Tyre shortly after ordering residents there to leave. Tens of thousands had already fled that area in recent weeks as Israel steps up its campaign to destroy Hezbollah in Lebanon. The Israeli military said it had killed 3 Hezbollah commanders and some 70 fighters in the past 48 hours. A day after confirming it had killed Hashem Safieddin, touted as a potential successor of slain Chief Hassan Nasrallah. Sarah Coates joins us live from Tel Aviv. Sarah, this is Mr. Blinken's 11th trip to the Middle East and the last before the U.S. elections. Now, as we just mentioned, the killing of Yahya Sinwar might change, or it could hopefully change the calculus this time. But are we any closer to getting any outcomes from the talks this time around?
Hello there, Wei Su. Certainly the Americans are hoping the killing of Yahya Sinwar will change things on the ground. But in terms of this 11th wartime visit to the region by America's top diplomat, there really wasn't anything there to indicate any kind of strong-arming, any kind of extra pressure by the United States on Israel to come to a deal to see a ceasefire in the Gaza Strip and also to see these 101 Israeli hostages returned. Now, in saying that, not really seeing any willingness from either party. We're speaking here specifically about Israel and also Hamas to change their long-held positions on the ground that would actually facilitate some kind of a ceasefire and also a hostage release. Israel continues to say that it will operate in the Gaza Strip as long as Hamas remains a threat to Israelis, while Hamas has said that it simply will not release any of these hostages until there is a full withdrawal of Israeli forces. Now, a couple of other takeaways that we did get from Mr. Blinken's visit. He's really urging restraint in Israel's retaliation to Iran for that unprecedented ballistic missile attack on the 1st of October. And he's also urging more vital humanitarian aid to be let in to the Gaza Strip after that very strongly worded letter was sent by the United States to Israel. Now, you did mention he's now in Saudi Arabia for very high-level meetings there, once again trying to push through this deal between Israel and Saudi that would see normalization between these two countries, which, of course, was put on ice when the war in Gaza broke out. Wei Su.
Well, certainly no let-up at this point on Israeli strikes. We were reporting earlier on strikes in the Lebanese port city of Tyre and concerns about sometimes evacuation warnings. There's very little time from the warning being delivered to people actually being able to safely evacuate. How is that affecting the humanitarian situation on the ground in Lebanon?
It is becoming worse and worse, hour by the hour, day by day. You did mention that fresh evacuation order in the coastal city of Tyre. Already a quarter of the population inside Lebanon are facing evacuation orders. We're talking here about 1.2 million people. Now, many of these people who've fled the south, they've actually moved further north and are sleeping in areas around the capital, Beirut. But this is due to many of these shelters, or all of these shelters, I should say, being completely overcrowded with people. There simply is not enough space for people to go to seek shelter. Now, we did hear yesterday from a Lebanese minister, Yasser Nasser. He said that Lebanon needs $250 per month to actually provide food, water and vital assistance to these people who fled their homes. He says that this amount is likely to rise as more and more people do. Now, this comes as he's also saying that Lebanon may not actually be able to stop migration to other countries if this war continues. And these urgent calls, Sue, they come ahead of a very significant conference that's being held tomorrow in Paris to actually deal with this crisis unfolding right now in Lebanon. But as you mentioned, it really is becoming worse as more and more evacuation orders are issued.
Thanks. Sarah Coles reporting from Tel Aviv.